Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chelloveck Movies. My name is John, and this video is going to be part 2 of what I picked up from the video library in the year of 1986. And also thanks to the reception for part 1 of this series, which I'll link down below. And especially everybody was talking about the VHS that I showed. Now what I did was I went into the cupboard, deep into the cupboard, and I found some more. And there's some crackers in there. And honestly, the one that I've got, the lowest one in here, I'm looking at it and I thought, I don't even know who released this. I don't know where it's from. It's crazy. And there's some really odd ones there that I want to talk about. And I don't think I've even finished with the VHS yet. Most of the ones on there aren't anything. I think they're just stuff we taped off the TV. We had like sort of these TV tapes knocking about. But there's a few little interesting things I want to talk about in the VHS blanks over there. So getting back to the video library in 1986, and the thing I didn't do in my last video was show a photograph of what I looked like then. So I'll put one up here now. Now, apologies for this. You will notice I've got a curly whirly badge, which I've still got actually somewhere. And that was done purely for jest. I wasn't a fan, well, I suppose I was a fan of curly whirly because I was only a kid. 1986 was a great year because this was the first full year that I had a video cassette recorder. And we got one, I got one in 1985 when I was 18. So this was a year of me just going crazy in the video shop. And I did write down everything that I got out of the video shop. And there's a few ones here, when you look at them, you think, what are they? And I don't think some of them have even come out again. And it's interesting to know as well that a lot of people actually followed this same pathway and got a lot of these movies out. So we're finished off on Rocky 3 on the last one. That was June the 19th. So we're going to go to June the 25th and start off with this one, Reanimator. Now, this was a great movie to get because it's a brilliant movie, but it's so gory and over the top gory. Yes, it wasn't the full and cut version, but it was kind of more or less most of the gore. It was one of the most goriest things you could see in that at that time. And that was why we navigated to it, because we were after gore, which you couldn't get. Obviously, we're going to our connections and getting these banned video nasties on really bad bootlegs. But what we wanted to do was get stuff from the video library. It would have been great to get the real IMs from the video library, but they were sadly gone. So you used to get the next best thing. These ones that used to kind of slip by the radar. And obviously as well, with the cover of Reanimator, you thought yourself, how can this be in there? Because you knew that the covers in them days were really frowned upon. Anything graphic was gone. It doesn't matter what it was. It could have been Bambi, but if Bambi had something bad on the cover, someone stand with an axe behind it, then that was gone. That's how crazy it was. So anyway, I don't need to tell you how good Reanimator was. It's one of the best movies I've got. I've got it up there, and I think it's either out in 4K. It's coming out in 4K, but it's amazing to see. Quite rightly, this movie has come out and it's got a massive cut now. It's the longest cut out there. It's been treated to the 5-star treatment. So that's Reanimator. Actually, very quickly, I went to the town yesterday with the Debs, and I picked up for the first time in about 30 years some vinyl. Actually got two vinyls in here. Bought them from Reflex, two for 22 quid, and I couldn't believe what I got. These are two amazing vinyls. So I'll show you them on another video. So to coin a phrase, variety is a spice of life. In a video shop, you could get anything out you want. You could get two sides of coin. So how's this for a double bill? I got out Gremlins, and also on the same day, I got out Flesh Gordon. Now, Flesh Gordon was a movie that we talked about in the schoolyard. We used to people used to go around and say, "Have you seen Flesh Gordon? It's got this and it's got that in it," and we couldn't wait to see it. It was so funny. And the actual, I think the cassette was cut slightly. I think now I have got this uncut on this German DVD. It's also got Flesh Gordon 2 on it, which is pretty rubbish to say the least. But Flesh Gordon is a bit of a masterpiece, actually, if I'm honest. This could do this. Actually, the picture quality here is really bad, and this could do with a really good overhaul. I don't know who would get their hands in it and do it, but this is such a good movie, and it's nothing in it, to be honest. It's just one of those. It's just so daft. And I used to be a big fan of Flash Gordon, the TV series, and this kind of takes off that. This came out, I'm going to say, around about 1977, so it predated Flash Gordon, the 1980 movie. And actually, this is the one I watched the most out of all the stuff. Can you believe it or not? But this needs a good remaster. But yes, so Flesh Gordon, you could just say, growing up as a 14-year-old, I'll have one of them, and they just go, yeah, no problem. It wasn't even a thing. There was nobody challenged it at all by what you used to get in there. You could get anything off them shelves, and people would just say, there you go. So it was nuts. It was great. It was one of those things where I don't think you should go anywhere else and get stopped about anything. But in those days, to go to somewhere and you know you were getting stuff that was way beyond your years, and they just used to give it to you, it was just a crazy time. But Gremlins is an absolute classic. I've got a good story to tell you if I get a chance to tell you. On some of these videos, I'll tell you these stories. I keep going on about them, but I will tell you a story today because I mean, tell you a story sounds like I'm gonna. It's like Jack and Ori, isn't it? Actually, I did write down, which I didn't talk about in the other one. On the 5th of January, Rick Mayo was reading Jack and Ori, and I used to watch that every day from school. Used to get back in, used to watch Rick Mayo, who's an absolute legend, and sadly missed. I just watched him constantly when I was a kid. One of the best things that ever happened to the 80s, in my opinion. He was so irreverent, and just his comedy was just amazing to me. It was great to me at my age, at that age of a 14-year-old, 13-year-old. You just used to go crazy for anything that Rick Mayo or the young ones had done. So yeah, Gremlins and Flesh Gordon. How's that for a double bill? Next, I rented The Order of Death. Now, a big fan of John Lydon, Johnny Rotten, Sex Pistols, Public Image. Got all their stuff and just really embraced what he did. And it was like a part of my life growing up. And when he made a film, I thought, right, I've got to go and see this. And well, obviously, it was. I don't think it was shown at the cinema, not that I knew. This is from 1983 when it was released. And Johnny Rotten, actually, John Lydon was really good in it. I thought it was a great movie. Harvey Keitel is brilliant as well. And actually, I did get a DVD sent to us by my good friend Paul, aka Millerman12345. And he sent me this one, and I didn't own it at all. It's one of those movies that I really did like, and I did. I'm sure I had this. I'm sure I had it on the VHS. I did have actually on the VHS. Probably got it from Video Library because you used to sell them off, didn't they? When they sort of had their run, they were just lying on the shelves. We'd just put them in a bargain bin. You would pick them up for maybe £5. More about that on a different video. So yes, so this is a great movie actually, and I want to thank Paul once again for thinking of me and sending me this movie. And it's actually got a different title here. It's got a few titles, this movie, but the one I remember is Order of Death. I know on the Pill album, This Is What You Want, This Is What You Get, the Order of Death song is on there. I can't remember if it's actually on the movie or not, but yeah. So great movie this, and such a weird thing to have John Lydon actually acting in a movie. I don't think he's done anything since that. Next up, I got out The Oracle. Now, this is another one that's had one of those fortnightly remember, because don't forget, I probably haven't seen this since the video days. This is one of the ones where the cover was amazing, and I thought it stood out. I thought I've got to see what that is. And I remember in my mind, looking back on it, I remember being very disappointed with this. I didn't think it was up to much at all, probably because there was no gore in it. Actually, at the time, I was like gore heavy. If it was gory, I loved it. If it wasn't gory, I didn't go near it. Now, this is quite stupid actually, because some of the movies that I like today are really not that gory, but they're brilliant movies, like some horror movies. And but when you're young, when you're 14 and you just want the goriest thing ever, you're quite judgmental. And because I was spoiled a little bit with American Werewolf in London at the cinema, I did want to see that type of thing every time I turned the video cassette recorder on. I wanted to see the out and out gore fest. And sadly, the Oracle, from what I remember, didn't fit that bill at all. I just remember it's one of those ones you get it and you get the cover, or the cover's been looking at you for a long time, or you just run out of ideas and you pick that one. So you eventually get it. You get it and you just think, what was all that about? So as far as I can remember, hasn't got anything memorable about it. That's the Oracle. Next, I rented Mad Max 3. Now, I'm a huge fan of this franchise, but Mad Max 3 is kind of like the lowest one because Mad Max 1 and Mad Max 2 have these amazing car chases and amazing characters in it. Mad Max 3 just seemed to kind of get rid of all that, which I thought, what's all this about? Even though it's still got good parts in it, it's not a patch on 1 and 2, so I was quite disappointed with it. Now, I do think that I didn't go at the picture to see this one. I did get this out in the video library, and this might have been my first time of watching this movie, and I was really disappointed with it. I do own it now, and at 4K, the 4K looks brilliant. But it's one of those things where you're just kind of spoiled with a franchise, especially part two. I went to see Mad Max 2 at this Woody Bay Playhouse. That was another one that I watched 4 times in a week and loved it. This was a bit of a letdown. That's Mad Max 3. Actually, when I'm looking at this list, it says on August 16th, it has written sun in. So I'll talk about my hair dye disaster now. Actually, my hair must have grown quite quick because in this picture, which you'll see now, can you believe it? What had happened was this lad I knew, he had it's called Martin Wade. Wadey. I seen him one day and he had like really blonde hair, and I said to him, "What's going on with this?" He says, "I put this stuff in called sunning. You just put on your hair. You go out when it's sunny. It was always sunny in them days. There was never a spot of rain on the ground. And I mean, the summer's 76. Wow. So this, you just put this stuff on, go out, and by the time you come in, you've got blonde hair." And I thought that sounds really good. So I had quite long hair, as you see in this picture. I mean, look at that. That was taken just around the corner from me grand's house by Wolfie Walkroy. He was walking the street and went, "Ho," and I turned around and he took a photograph. We were going to band practice. That's why I've got me leather jacket on, me band Demolition Progress. We were practicing in them days. We used to practice all that year actually, and we split up in that year for a good few years, but we got back together again. Anyway, so yeah, so what I did was I did exactly what Wadey said. I said I put on the hair. Maybe that's why this is looking the way it is. So I went out and it just went bright ginger. So I had this bright ginger hair. So anyway, what I did was I went and got it all cut off. So maybe that picture there that you saw at the start of it, the black and white one, is after this one or something like that. No, I don't think it is. Anyway, I digress again. Back to the video shop, and next I got out for a change. The Elephant Man. This just shows you that I was just obsessed with this movie. More about that in a different video. It's just, well, it's one of those movies where I saw it 4 times at the cinema. I saw it obviously many times on VHS. I remember actually going to try and buy it from the video shop in VHS, and it was there for £5. I was going to buy it, and when I went back the next time, when I saved up my money to get it for £5, believe it or not, it was gone. But more about that in a different video. As you know, I have got the pre-cert, and I'll talk a little bit about that on a different video. I'm saying pre-cert. It's not hasn't got any certification on it as far as I can remember, although it's in the cupboard. That cupboard. Now, what I'm going to do is when I tidy the cupboard up, because the cupboard's a right mess. I'm trying to find them videotapes in there. I've got to put all the stuff out. It's just mountains of gear in there. What I'll do is when it's fully tidied, probably be next year, I'll take you through this cupboard, which is like kind of treasure chest for all of this stuff. I've got some really great things to show you, some things that I thought, wow, I can't believe it. And that's just me putting my hands in and seeing it, but the stuff that's at the back of it is mental. And I've got my favourite toy in there, which I found the other day that I got from Blackpool. Funny enough, my dad didn't leave us in the shop in that one. And yeah, so I've got a few little things to show you, and this and this nostalgia trip that we're taking at the moment. So anyway, after the Elephant Man, which means no introduction because it's just a classic film, but it's one of those ones that really resonated me with them. I had a book, I was reading a book all the time. I just was this year I was obsessed. Actually, some that wrote 2 songs for Demolition Progress about the Elephant Man. Now, here's the thing. Does anyone remember this one? In one of my video shops, the Video Den, which is probably the best one there, actually, if I'm honest, used to go there all the time. They used to actually rent out computer games, Commodore 64 games, and probably Atari. And we used to go and actually get some stuff from there. Twin Kingdom Valleys, I remember, used to get there all the time. And other ones, Friday the 13th, that was a great game, that. And I actually bought that one. And these games are kind of long gone. Kentilla was another one I remember. So actually, they used to sell them. So I write down that I bought one here called Chiller. Now I can't remember this one at all. Playing it, I remember most of them. Remember the sort of the ideas behind them, but Chiller is not one I remember at all. But I remember the cover. As soon as I looked for it online, I thought, yeah, definitely that. Now I did used to have the oldies. I don't think I've got them anymore, but I have got a huge box of there in audio cassettes. And who knows, some of these things might be in there. So next and finally for this episode on what I picked up from the video shop in 1986, I got out Derek and Clive Get the Horn. Now, this was, I mean, actually, I've got this here. This is one of the best things I've ever seen. It's the actual language in here is you've never heard anything like it. And you're talking about un-PC. This is un-PC to a max. When this came out on VHS, I couldn't believe that it was actually coming out because when it came out in the video shops, it was one of those ones that kind of went straight by. Nobody took blame it, notice of it. But the stuff they're talking about in here is next level. And it is so, it says, warning, this video cassette is only suitable for those rich enough to have bought it. Do not show it in the presence of others. But it is just, wow. I think it's probably online. There's a lot of Derek and Clive stuff online. I don't know if you've ever heard it. It's obviously Peter Coot and Dudley Moore, and they wrote this. They wrote Pete and Dud, which is kind of them talking about just stupid things, you know, like the worst job I've ever had, all that type of thing, which is great. And the stuff they've got online when they're talking and they're laughing all the way through is brilliant. Now this stuff here, they just took it to another level. They just actually just started swearing all the way through, and it was just a swear fest. And I think there was some things coming up. I don't think Dudley Moore even know what he was getting into, because some of the things that Peter Cook talked about in here were that near to the knuckle that you could see him kind of wincing as if to say, "Oh, we're not going to go there." But anyway, it's if you like this sort of thing, if you like something that's really, really offensive, then check it out, because it's so clever as well. It's really good. The one about the horse racing is a favourite of mine. I've actually got cassettes of Derek and Clive. I think I want to get all cassettes, you know, ad nauseum and that type of thing. But yeah, so this is a really weird one to pick up there. And actually, when I got it, I don't think I knew about. I think I knew that they'd done something like this, but I couldn't believe it when I watched it to find out how absolutely extreme it was. So I told you the story about the sunning, and actually in 1986 I worked on the Spanish City, and it was the best job I've ever had. Spinning the waltzer and the dodgems, it was just unbelievable. I've got some really good stories to tell you about that, and I will tell them, and you know, on the next video coming up. So remember on the last video when I showed you this, and I was talking about the different running times of a VHS, and I was saying there's a few in there that I haven't heard of. Well, actually, this year, the Scotch E120, I never even knew that I had one of these. This is like a 2 hour tape, and it's quite strange there, and we're talking about that in the comments, the skeleton on the advert. This is this is a strange one, because I can't remember even, you know, you can remember kind of buying certain ones, and there was ones that you would want to get because you want to get the 4 hour ones because you get two movies on like usually. And this one here, the 2 hour one, would have been one that I thought I wouldn't have went and actively seeked out. So I'm surprised to see it, but it's good to have it actually. I think what I'll do is when I put these movies or these films back into my cupboard like neatly, because they're quite neat, but you know they kind of got lots of stuff on over the top of them. This one here, I'll put out all the ones that are a little bit strange, and this one hasn't got anything on it, and it's I would imagine I think all the ones that were like that were all for taping stuff off the TV. They just had them to one side, so anything that was like that, it was just fair game. You just throw it on, probably tape was something you wanted to see, and that was a TV tape. So that's the running time of E120. Now next up, another one that I'd had on here, which I thought I've never even heard of it, the E195. Here's a E195. So that would be 3 hours 15 minutes. That's a really weird time to have on a tape. I don't know why. This hasn't got the original cassette in there. It's got a Sony E1 200, another TV one. And yeah, so that was just, I saw them. I know I showed Memorex on the last one, but I thought I'd show that because, you know, when I said I hadn't got even heard of it, well, I've actually got one. Who knows? It's got here that I don't think I've got that 300 E300. I'll be interested to see if I had though. So that's the 195. So getting back to some ones that I've got them like I did in the last one. I put them in order of what I think is the best to the worst. And this worst one, my God, I can't. I do have a recollection actually when I'm looking at it that I think this was like sold probably in a video shop, but like ultra cheap. I think they were probably about 149 a tape. That comes to my mind anyway. So first up, I would say is a good make is TDK. Now this was a one that I would have definitely went to. I would have definitely picked it up and thought nothing of it, because, or even, you know, we're talking about in the comments to say if somebody gave you a really good tape or you wanted blank cassettes for Christmas and somebody gave you like a really good ones, like these would be classed as good ones. What all ones that when you got them and you opened, you thought, "Oh my God!" You're trying to put a like a smile on, and you would think this is like this tape's going to snap as soon as I put it into play. So yeah, but this is our class as really good one. I don't think I had a huge amount of TDKs, but I know that ones that I wouldn't have frowned upon. TDK. So this one here, I did show this make on my previous video, but this is like a variant. Now, you know, Weirdnet's talking about variants of VHS blank like cases. Crazy, isn't it? So it is Sky, but it's a different one than the last one. And this one here has got Bless This House in it. Now, it's not the Bless This House with Sid James. This is the Bless This House with Diceman, Andrew Clay. Now, it's got 5 episodes on here. And I remember this, I just stumbled upon this on TV. I think it was on ITV. and it was great because it was an American one, but it was a bit like Married with Children. It was quite near the knuckle, and there was not it wasn't one of these like usual kind of shows. So I really enjoyed it. It was I think it was Kathy Moriarty was his wife, and Andrew Dice Clay was a postman. And he went in the post office and used to come back home. I remember an episode where I think his daughter was getting hassled by a guy, so he was going to go out and chin him, which is Geordie term for have a bit of a word with him. And so this was great. I don't think I've heard or seen of this ever since this was on the TV. So these 5 episodes of Bless This House, and the tape does look in pretty good condition actually. Be Kind Rewind. I do think this might be one, not a collector's item, but it'd be one of those ones where, because I've got a machine that can copy these onto a disc. So I think I might start looking into maybe getting some of this stuff off here and actually looking at it because it's a bit of a treasure trove when you think about it. I mean, I know this is stuff, it's got stuff to the TV, but it might have some other things on it. I was talking in the comments to a chap called October, and he said, what happens if you've got like loads of adverts and like, like introductions into like stuff from Channel 4 or whatever that hasn't been seen before or seen again since that was out. And I thought, yeah, you could be right there. But yeah, so Bless This House, really good actually. Now I'm saying this is probably available on Blu-ray, some in American, but I don't think it has. I don't. It was a huge flop when it came out, unfortunately for Dice Clay, because I think it's going to start on maybe in a TV career, which he didn't do. But he went into a TV show later on, which was really good actually. So that's Sky. Next up is the one that I would rate highly, Samsung. Now this is the E180, another one for the TV, and I've got the E240. Now this one's got Leon and Halloween. It's got Leon the director's cut and Halloween. Now I'm interested to see, I would love to play this to see what's this version of Halloween. Is it a TV version? I don't think it is. I think it's actual film. So I think that may have been taken on the TV. I'm not too sure. But this is these are quite good to have like variants of the same, because sometimes it would put, the 240s would be the same as the 180s, but I like the way that these were the same but different. So that's Samsung. So this one was a really odd one when I picked it out. I thought, I cannot remember this being a thing, but well, it was because I've got one here. It is MGM. This is the 240. High grade, all high grade cassettes, aren't they? They all purport to be the best thing ever since sliced bread. Now this one here, do you remember this? When you used to tape things off the TV and you'd broken the tab, so you used to put the sellotape over there so you could actually record on it again. Crazy, isn't it? But this is this. I tell you what, actually on the tape there, because I thought, is this the right tape? But when you look at it, you don't see that very often. So that is the MGM tape. Now this might be sounds stupid, doesn't it? But this, and the tape looks in good condition. This may be kind of like a collector's item in a fashion to say that you've actually got this MGM cassette, which I don't know if they made too many of them, but it's actually got the proper cassette in it, which most cassettes maybe are being a bit kind of put all over the place, but I don't think many used to put the name on it on the actual cassette itself. So that's MGM. Now we're getting towards the sort of the bad ones, I would say. Now I don't think this is really bad, but it's the one that I wouldn't have really wanted to get if I had if I had my choice in the shop. It is Granada. I think that's a 3 hour tape. Again, this would be one from the is that no, it's I thought that had been thingied over. Probably had been actually. So yeah, so this one again, I think that these ones were kept because they were kind of lower quality by just taking stuff off the TV. And this would have been a bit of a time capsule actually, because don't know when we stopped doing things off the TV. But this could be something that was like really crazy, like something like Bless This House, which is like it's not available anywhere else, possibly. Actually, there's one that I did tape, and it's not available. It's such a good show. It's called Set of Six with Roland Riveron. Now, there's a weird sort of story here. I'll tell you this quickly. There's a bloke, and I think he's called Michael Young, and he got in touch with me because I used to go on a thing called uh, it was called The Void on Channel 4 on teletext. Does anyone remember that? And I used to go on there and used to put your thing on, has anybody got this? I've got this. Do you want to trade this? Do you want to trade that? And somebody was asking for a set of six, the TV series, and actually had it on the video cassette, and I'd copied it onto a DVD. Now this DVD that's never been shown again, as far as I know. It's such a good show. It basically follows these sextuplets, and it tells you about the fact that they fell out at the birthday party and won't speak to each other. And it's the same bloke, Roland Riveron, is playing the different aspects of these people. Now, what I will show, well, I'll show you. I took an actual bit of this off. There's one where he's a supergrass, and he gets his face altered. That's amazing. So I put the clips down, which I put on YouTube years and years ago. There's also another one with a photographer. He's on top of a greenhouse and it falls to bits. So I put those two bits on. I'll actually link them down below if I can find them. And but yeah, so he got in touch with me and he said, can I get you the stuff?" So he says, "Yeah." So I swapped the stuff with him, and actually, when he's got the stuff, and he said, "I'll send you like a bag of goodies." And he's a really well respected designer. I'm sure he's called Michael Young, and he sent us his stuff, and I couldn't work out what the things he'd sent us because they're quite like unique. It was like an ashtray, I remember. It was like a plastic ashtray or a rubber ashtray, which was a bit nuts. Sent us a T-shirt, which I still got now, which doesn't fit us. But he moved to Japan. He's got like a website. The stuff that he actually makes or like designs are absolutely brilliant. He's got this eye for it, but it's just crazy to think that I sent him that set of six because he wanted it that much. And I'm sure he knew Roland Riveron, and he asked Roland Riveron about it, and he says, "I don't know where it is." So that's a really crazy thing to have in your collection, sort of TV series, which is brilliant, but it is absolutely impossible to find. Anyway, so that's the Granada. Now, the one I was talking about is absolutely must be bottom of the pile. And when I picked it up, actually, my son's taped, I've a tape from his son, Max Steel, on here. I wonder if that's the actual cassette that was to do with. No, it's a Maxell cassette. So it's not actually the cassette. I would love to know. Well, probably looking from this box, I would imagine that this cassette is long gone because I would imagine it just, you'd put it near the VHS and it kind of. Actually, quickly, do you remember on a VHS when you put it next to a magnet and it wiped the tape? That was good, wasn't it? Anyway, so this one here is called, does anyone remember this one? Hollywood Nights. Yeah, this just looks cheap as chips, doesn't it? Imagine having a row of them on the mantelpiece, and people would say, I don't know if it's frowned upon. Don't get us wrong. I'm not going to try and be elitist about this, but I do know there was a certain kind of class like Scotch. I'm hearing in the comments that people did rate Scotch very highly. I wouldn't imagine that anybody has actually, has anybody got this one? Has anyone got any of these tapes left? Or they're all like kind of snapped and long gone? So yeah, so that is the worst cassette tape I found thus far in my cupboard, and I'm sure there's plenty more I can find in there, hopefully, for my next video, which will be going through more of this stuff, may tell you a few more stories in there. So yeah, so thanks for watching. I really enjoy doing these retro sort of look backs and nostalgia trips because it's great to sort of talk about these things, and it's great actually in the comments to hear. There's a lot of people get a lot of things out of this stuff, just talking about stuff like this, just like a huge kind of nostalgia trip. And actually, sometimes when you look at this stuff and you look at the stuff I've got in there, a lot of it is nostalgia. You're getting these movies for nostalgia. You may pick up a certain movie and think, that reminds me of a certain time that was really like a turning point in my life, or something like that. It could bring back anything to your mind. So yeah. So thanks for everybody who's tuning into these videos. Really do appreciate that. So thanks for watching. You take care, and I will see you in the next video. Hollywood Nights.